I feel very called to become a member of the Catholic Church.
Love the Catholic Church. It's just the best place to be.
From the studios of EWTN, this is Open Line. In North America, call toll-free 1-800-585-9396. That's 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985. You can also send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
You know what I think the best thing is going to be about heaven? I bet in heaven there are no meetings. If I were a betting man, I would say that is one of the supreme graces that go along with the beatific vision, is that you never have to worry about being in a meeting or getting lost at your own meeting and forgetting that you have a date with Barbara McGuigan
how could you?
at 3 o'clock Eastern. So welcome to EWTN's Open Line. Well, listen, Barbara, if it makes you feel any better, I have not made it by the beginning of the show before, so we're ahead of the game here today. On Open Line Tuesday with our very own pro-life warrior, Barbara McGuigan, is in the house. If you've got a question for Barbara, the number's 1-800-585-9396. That's toll-free anywhere in North America. 1-800-585-9396. If you're outside the United States and Canada, your number is 1-205-271-2985. Or you can send us an email, openline@ewtn.com. And we also have this fancy new texting option for you, as Mimi McGuigan is taking a flying leap into the 21st century, and she'll take your questions via text. Just text the letters EWTN to 55000. Wait for a response, then follow the instructions. One text per show, please, and data and message rates may apply. I'm Jack Williams. The lovely and talented Elena Rodriguez has relaxed now that I've arrived in the studio. She's producing the program, and your call screener is Mr. Matt Gubensky. And a special thank you today for Michael McCall, who had the wherewithal to come into my office and tell me that I probably needed to be somewhere else. So good job out of him. Again, if you've got a question, the number's 1-800-585-9396. And Barbara, it's an election year. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Oh, I think I had an idea.
And one of the hot topics, I haven't really heard much specifically about it since the whole visit to Mexico and the wall controversy struck itself up again. But immigration has been a hot topic over the past several months. And I know it came up on Open Line Tuesday, one afternoon.
Yep, it did.
And you really wanted to do a little research at that time as to what, for my money, is the greatest philosopher of our time, St. Thomas Aquinas, had to say about the matter. And I think you've done a little research along those lines.
Well, I have, Jack, and I'm glad that you're eager to hear this. Because it's important. It's really important because the Catholic approach to immigration is a very balanced approach. I mean, I know some Catholics who automatically assume that the Church's position is one of unconditional charity toward those who enter the nation legally or illegally. And here's the thing. Of course, we are exhorted and always encouraged to welcome the stranger. But on the other hand, any sovereign country has a right to govern their borders. 29 countries have serious borders. I call them serious because they follow the laws of the country as to those borders. But the Catechism says every human person needs to be subject to authority, and that would include criminals, felons, drug runners, and sex traffickers to come into your they'd have to come into the country's authority the minute they try to cross your border. And so a nation with borders doesn't become a police state when it enforces the laws of the country. In fact, this is my opinion, but I believe you won't even have a country if you don't protect its citizens from danger and hostility. So I was really interested in what St. Thomas Aquinas had to say about this, if anything at all, about migration and immigration. And sure enough, I received from one of my girlfriends a great It's called Return to Order. Now, this is a book, but you can go to the website and you can see this. I was absolutely thrilled at this. www.returntoorder.org. Okay? And then the article was called, What Does St. Thomas Say About Immigration? And so I thought it was important that we talk about this, that we go there, because as you say, he is a doctor of the church who bases his opinions on Scripture. He excelled in wisdom. Actually, I guess not just wisdom, right, Jack? In all the gifts
Absolutely.
and the fruits of the Holy Spirit. So his information is worth listening to, especially for those who believe we must let thousands of Syrians into the United States, even with the sure risk of some being ISIS radicals among them. I mean, how prudent is this? And already we're hearing that the biggest threat is by radicalized, homegrown ISIS affiliates already in this country. So we already have 10,000 Syrians here, and one candidate wants to triple this number. So, okay, so this is why I want to talk about this. So what did St. Thomas say? All right, he said that man's relations with foreigners are twofold, peaceful and hostile. And in directing both kinds of relation, the law contained suitable precepts. Now, what this means is that St. Thomas was affirming that not all immigrants are equal. Every nation has the right to decide which immigrants are beneficial, that is, peaceful, to the common good. And as a matter of self-defense, the state can reject those criminal elements, traitors, enemies, like I said in the beginning, and others who it deems harmful or hostile to its citizens. And the second thing he affirms is that the manner of dealing with immigration is determined by law in the cases of both beneficial and hostile immigration. So the state, bottom line, has the right and the duty to apply its law. Okay, he also acknowledges the fact that others will want to come to visit or even stay in the land for some time. Those are people who migrate to a country. And he actually says such foreigners deserve to be treated with charity, respect, and courtesy, which is due to any human of goodwill. In these cases, the law can and should protect foreigners. This is the migration immigration laws have to protect foreigners as well from being badly treated. He recognizes that there will be those who will want to stay and become citizens of the lands they visit. However, he sets as the first condition for acceptance a desire to integrate fully into what would today be considered the culture and life of the nation. Don't you find this interesting, Jack?
Very much.
I mean, I really did appreciate this. And so the second condition is that the granting of citizenship would not be immediate, he said. The integration process takes time. People need to adapt themselves to the nation. He quotes the philosopher Aristotle as saying this process was once deemed to take 2 or 3 generations. St. Thomas himself does not give a time frame for this integration, but he does admit that it can take a long time. Now, those who are familiar, and this is the reason, see, everything is so logical. Those familiar with the long history of their nation are in the best position. This is why we don't jump to things, is the best position to make the long-term decisions about its future. It is harmful and unjust to put the future of a place in the hands of those recently arrived, who, although through no fault of their own, have little idea of what is happening or has happened in the nation. Such a policy would lead to the destruction of the nation. And then he goes on to say, but, the laws don't have to be rigid. The rules don't have to be rigid, but there have to be rules. And then he cites all of these examples. So he's very clear that the matter of immigration is based on biblical principles. It's clear that immigration must have 2 things in mind. The first is the nation's unity, and the second is the nation's common good. So we can talk about this more, Jack, if you want to, but I found that to be very informative, and I wanted to share it with all of our listeners.
1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number. If you've got a question for Barbara McGuigan about immigration, comments about any of the life issues, we're here to talk to you today at 1-800-585-9396. Open Line Tuesday with Barbara McGuigan.
From EWTN News Nightly in Washington, D.C., I'm Brian Patrick with your EWTN Newslink. Pope Francis will celebrate a Requiem Mass for Father Jacques Hamel, the French priest killed by terrorists this summer while celebrating Mass. Tomorrow morning's Mass in the Santa Marta Chapel will be broadcast live. The NCAA pulls 7 championship events from North Carolina. Its Board of Governors says the decision came because of the cumulative actions taken by the state concerning civil rights protections, apparently referring to the state's so-called bathroom bill. Turkey's foreign minister accuses Syria's government of violating a ceasefire agreement. Turkey's military says it shelled 2 targets inside Syria after a mortar round fell in Turkey minutes after a ceasefire took effect. And Donald Trump rolls out his proposals to make child care more affordable for working families. Ivanka Trump will join her dad tonight for a speech in suburban Philadelphia. It'll call for paid maternity leave and the creation of dependent care savings accounts.
Podcasts of Open Line are available within 24 hours of live broadcast. Go to EWTN.com and click on Multimedia.
Now is the time to make your plans for the 2016 EWTN Family Celebration, September 17th and 18th in Birmingham, Alabama. And best of all, it's free. For more information, go to EWTN.com/family celebration.
This is Bishop John Brungart of the Diocese of Dodge City.
This is Colin Donovan, Vice President for Theology.
This is Father Larry Richards, host of Open Line Thursday. Thanks for listening to EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's the family celebration, and it is this weekend right here in Birmingham, Alabama. EWTN's Family Celebration, September 17th and 18th. Visit with many of your favorite EWTN personalities. Get a chance to shop at the EWTN religious catalog that we'll have set up at the Birmingham Jefferson Convention Complex here in downtown Birmingham. And best of all, every last bit of it is free. So be sure to check out all the details at EWTN.com/family celebration. To the phones we go on an Open Line Tuesday. Timothy is in Springfield, Oregon, listening to EWTN on Mater Dei Radio. Timothy, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Timothy.
Well, hello, Barbara. Yes, I've got a situation I need some advice on regarding a student, or my foster son is attending a community transitions program. He graduated from high school, just turned 18, and because he's intellectually disabled, he's going through a program to transition into adulthood for the next 3 years. In this program, the coordinator explained to me that they're going to have Planned Parenthood education program come in once a month and give them a spiel regarding contraception and all kinds of different things.
Okay, that's
and so on and
it.
So
All
forth.
sounded great until you said that. It all sounded
That's what
great.
I kind of think. And I got a meeting with the coordinator tomorrow, and I'm wondering if I can get a little advice on how to approach the topic with her.
You know, is there any other school this foster child can go to? Any other school?
Because he's not the state and the Department of Human Services is his guardian.
Gotcha.
And they are going to attend the meeting also. So I'm just the foster parent. So that's kind of the dilemma, is I really have no legal position except to explain my case for why.
Oh, they won't
See,
care.
he's been in my home now for 10 years. And I've raised him Catholic,
goodness.
and adamantly Catholic with our faith and morals, and I'm going to use that and present that issue to them. And
it's not going to matter. If they already think it's okay to bring the sleaziest anti-life, anti-love, anti-God organization that harvests unborn babies' body parts and sells them for money, for profit, if they are going to bring somebody like that into this school, Timothy, I don't think so. They wouldn't give two hoots what you have to say or about your morals. I want you to look up this article. One of my favorite people is Anthony Esselin, favorite writer of mine. And he wrote, "You can't have a culture of life if you have no culture at all." See, this is the big problem. It's such a great article, and I wish I could just read it to y'all. But if you're going to be, you're raising your child to be pro-life as well, no doubt, right?
Yes, for sure. We, in fact, are sidewalk counselors at the Planned Parenthood here in Eugene.
Yeah.
Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a real conflict with regards to how I've been administering to his faith and morals. And that's the dilemma.
Yeah. Well, you see...
I'm wondering, would it be appropriate for me to audit these classes once a month, and then if indeed he's forced to take them, which I don't see how they can force him, because I can just say, you stay home that
they
day.
They can. Trust me, they can. And when you try to opt your kid out, he still goes back to school the next day, and then all the other kids tell them exactly what they learned. With a little giggle, no doubt. No, it's so wrong. It's so bad. And, like what Anthony said partially in this article, all in a day's work at your local school, CBS, the BBC, the CBC, the New York Times, the Guggenheim, Broadway, Harvard, Hollywood, your local school, Cosmopolitan, the Playboy Channel, Princeton, your local school, young adult fiction, the halls of Congress, Planned Parenthood, the adult bookstore with no windows, your local school. This is the culture that has put together this whole game plan for our young people called sex education. And if you want to raise up young people in a culture of life, that's great. That's well and good. But that means, and here's Anthony again, that we require a culture. And that doesn't happen by itself. Especially not now, he said, when all the forces of education and mass entertainment are ranged against the very possibility of a culture. This is a depraved culture, and that is what your foster son is going to witness. Now, will he be old enough? You say, how old is he now, Timothy?
He's 18 right now, and he has a intellectual disability, which causes him to be in an individual education program. Has been for all his education life.
I'm surprised he hasn't gotten anything like this before now.
Well, where he went to high school, the teacher had a sex ed class, but he taught it himself. They didn't have Planned Parenthood come in.
Yeah.
And so once he graduated from the high school, he was placed in this transition program till he's 21.
But you see...
that's where Planned Parenthood's coming in.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
The coordinator says that, with their letter, says that if there's a reason why you have questions or concerns, we can talk about
that. They know that. Oh, yeah, they'll talk about it. They'll talk and they'll smile. They'll talk and they'll smile. I understand how this works. I've been involved in this fighting sex education for many moons, and I know how it works. I guess in the best case, you can try to get him to opt out. I doubt that they're going to permit this, but you can try. In possibly the best case, along with opting out, is to just keep him away from the other kids when they learn all this. It just defiles them. it defiles them. Let me put it that way. And not only does it defile them, it gives them serious problems and questions about, am I meant to be a boy? Or maybe God wanted me to be a girl. Maybe
Right.
God made a mistake on that, and they're going to get this whole gender identity, transgender dysphoria, this whole thing they're all learning now. It is a travesty. So I'll pray hard for you, Timothy, and God love you for calling in and being concerned about this, as well you should be. As well
One
you
last
should
issue.
be.
Can I have Anthony's last name spelled?
Oh, of course. Esalen. E-S-O-L-E-N. Anthony Esalen. He is a professor at Providence. Is that in New Hampshire, Jack?
Providence College is in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Okay. All right. I wasn't sure. And it's called You Can't Have a Culture of Life If You Have No Culture at All. And this is why pro-life parents cannot send their kids to be taught by the same fellow that all the other parents use, because there is a great chance, like this Planned Parenthood whole plan that they have at the high school here, it doesn't work.
Right. Can I?
God bless you.
Can I access that article just through the title, or the?
Yeah, you can go to the title, put in Anthony Esalen. You can't have a culture of life if you have no culture at all. And you know, Anthony or Timothy, I'm talking from experience.
Right.
And this was not in a public school. My experience was not in a public school. We had a new principal at our Catholic school. And she was a kind of a rogue, loose cannon kind of Benedictine. And she brought in a homosexual man to teach language arts.
Yeah.
And one day my son, he was only, he was in the 5th grade. Okay? There's still that pristine state of innocence in the 5th grade for the most part, unless you've been exposed to sex ed from the time you've been in kindergarten. But no, not in this Catholic school. We had the most excellent Benedictines teaching in this school, all 4 of my kids. But my son was the last one to come. And in the 5th grade, this man sat them down, and this is when there was a big hoopla about AIDS. And so he started giving them a whole 101 course on active homosexuality and all the details. And my son came home from school, Timothy, and I thought he got in trouble. He had the saddest look on his face. You see, he has been raised to be pro-life, to know what God's plan for love and life is. I mean, oh my goodness, we have all these 42 nieces and nephews. I mean, he's seen more newborns and held more newborns. Okay? I thought he got in trouble. I said, honey, did you get in trouble today? What'd you do? And he said, nothing, Mom. And he went up to his room. He couldn't even talk. 2 days later, flag football. My husband was the coach, and my son loved football. And 2 mothers came up to me, and she said, did you hear what happened 2 days ago in the 5th grade classroom? I said, gosh, no, but I was concerned because my son, he snapped out of it. But I said, he really looked distressed. And then they proceeded to tell me. And it totally, I mean, he's okay. Of course he's okay now. He's a grown man going to have his second baby. But it was that 5th grade little boy that I had to see be defiled by this man who took it upon himself without any parental consent. It was a travesty of a time, those few days. It was, and oh, my husband was furious. Really, parents were furious. They were furious. We went to the pastor. Didn't work. Didn't help. But anyway, we did. So anyway, I see I'm down to 2 minutes, Timothy. I'm sorry to bend your ear so long, but I've been there, done that. That's why I come on so strongly with this, okay?
Yeah, I'm going to look that article up and read it. And
please do.
Say prayers for me.
You're a good man. I will, Timothy. I will. God bless you.
Thanks so much, Timothy. Appreciate the phone call there in Springfield, Oregon. Straight ahead, we'll talk to John driving through the great state of West Virginia. Tony's in Melbourne, Florida. And we've got plenty of time for your phone calls as well. Our number's 1-800-585-9396. That's toll-free anywhere in North America. 1-800-585-9396. 585-9396. If you're outside the United States and Canada, your number is 1-205-271-2985, or you can send us a text. Text the letters EWTN to 55000 and follow the directions. Open Line Tuesday with our own pro-life warrior, Barbara McGuigan.
"60 Seconds with Father Mitch Pacwa."
But so as to emphasize the gratuitous nature of salvation. In other words, what does it mean by it's gratuitous? You can't earn the grace of salvation. Nothing we do deserves salvation. I can't do enough good acts to save myself. That's heresy. The church declared that heresy in the time of Pelagius, back in the 4th century. And we don't believe it now. It is gratuitous because it's given by God's grace, freely, undeservedly. You don't deserve salvation. You don't deserve the forgiveness of sins, but you get it anyway. And this is a great, great gift for us. So we want to emphasize the gratuitous nature of salvation.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
Rory's an incredibly fit young man in training with the Marines. One of his comrades is flat out chubby. During training, they had to do 60 burpees in 8 minutes. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It's a painful exercise. Marines were snickering at Rory's friend and he was about to give up. Rory got right in his face and shouted above all the other voices, "You look at me. All you see is me. All you hear is my voice. You can do this." And he did. A week later, Rory's commander gave him the challenge. "Everyone do 60 burpees in 8 minutes. Rory, you do 80 burpees in 6 minutes. At the end of his strength and unable to go on, his friend ran out of nowhere to his side. "Rory, you look at me. You can do this." And he did. When life's exhausting you and negative voices cause self-doubt to creep in, Jesus is there at your side, shouting at you, "You listen to me. All you hear is me. All you see is me. You can do this." Listen to him, friends. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
Tonight on Mother Angelica Live Classics, Mother talks about the 7 sorrows of our Blessed Virgin Mary. That's tonight at 8 Eastern right here on EWTN Radio and television. We've got a text, Barbara, from Amelia, and she says, if all married couples rejected artificial contraception and had huge families, eventually there would be mass suffering, war, and famine. Would the Catholic hierarchy finally allow non-abortifacient artificial contraception in addition to NFP? I don't think NFP is a complete solution for women for women for whom MFP doesn't work.
Okay, that is a very long question. Let's look at it this way. It's the mentality that is behind. You see, we have to let God be God. When we use any type of contraception, be it an abortifacient, like birth control pills and all that sort of thing, all oral contraceptives, RU-486, all of this kind of stuff, or whether it is just some kind of a prophylactic or something like that. It is the mentality behind it. You are not letting God be God. What you are saying is, I will decide when a child comes into this world, Lord, not you. It's the mentality. It's a calculated, arrogant mentality. And this is why the church has been vehemently opposed to contraception, which is also the gateway to abortion, because that same mentality is what is carried over into abortion. I will prevent life at all costs, even if it means having my own child ripped from my womb. So it's the mentality we have to work on. And really, if mother and father are open to new life, you're talking to someone who has 10 brothers and sisters. Maybe the wrong person to ask that question, huh, Jack? Yeah. It's a joy. It was a joy. It was a gift from God. Every time my mom and dad brought home a new baby, I knew this baby's life was sacred. I knew this baby came from God and was going back to God. You know, I knew he had a purpose, or she had a purpose for existing. It's all in the mindset. It's about putting on the mind of Christ. Contraception does not put on the mind of Christ. But if you have a serious, unselfish reason for deciding to space your children, or even to decide that your family is complete, that's where the natural methods of family planning come in. And that is totally permissible if you have an unselfish reason. Okay?
And also, Amelia, and it's always interesting, Barbara, that if you'll get the mind of God first,
amen,
and put your trust in being obedient to God first, it's amazing how the circumstances work out.
Oh, yes.
Every time, because as it turns out, working backwards, the premise that you started with, Amelia, is actually a false one. Mm-hmm. Because, there are, Simon and Wattenberg come to mind, two famous demographers that predicted the demise of Western civilization based on population numbers far more modest than what have actually happened in the subsequent years. And yet here we sit in 2016, and the United States of America could very easily feed the entire world just from within its own borders.
Yep.
Most of the problems that are wrought on society, whether it be war, famine, any of this sort of stuff, is not resource related. It's politics related, and it's people related. So,
very good point. Very good point.
A
Jack.
True and steady guide is the Word of God and the mind of God and all of these things.
Yes, and the whole thing is, some people might say, well, I don't think NFP is a complete solution for the woman, because I'm talking about natural methods, because some women it doesn't work. Okay, then look at this again. Look at NFP again. Talk to a naprotechnologist, someone that Dr. Hilgers has trained, because they can always pinpoint why you cannot get pregnant or why you do get pregnant. They can always pinpoint that in a woman's cycle. So I don't buy that excuse that it doesn't work for some women. I don't buy it. But anyway, that's just where I'm coming from. So
1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number. Back to the phones we go. Sister Hughes is driving through the great state of Michigan, listening to Baraga Broadcasting. Sister, thanks for holding. You're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, sister.
Hi.
Hi. How can I help?
Well, my husband and I are driving here through northern Michigan. My husband is an attorney. He's known as the Bible-believing attorney. And we were listening to the conversation with Timothy and his son and the sex education with Planned Parenthood question.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband's driving, so he's going to have to tell me what to say.
Oh, okay, sure.
He says most child custody acts, including in Michigan and so forth, have a provision which requires them to continue the child in his religion. Therefore, it is against the laws to attack or assail his firmly established Christian Catholic views. And they do so.
Okay.
They are breaking the law.
Yes.
And could, at the least, find themselves in a lawsuit with one of the attorneys who believes the same way that they do.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying that the man who called in and said he's raised this foster child for 10 years, he's raising him Catholic, that he is able to go to the school and say, you cannot force my child to take part in this whole debacle, this Planned Parenthood sex ed debacle?
Right, according to the most child custody acts.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm so glad you called in. I wish I would have had that to give to him, and I hope he's still listening because, Timothy, if you're still listening, I hope you heard that. I hope you heard that you have a right to raise your foster child in your religion, which is Catholic, and you have been doing that for 10 years. And so what they are asking you to do to submit your child to this garbage is against the law. Did I say that right?
Yes, and my husband does have a website, BibleBelievingAttorney.com.
Okay.
That's beside the point. We're only licensed in the state of Michigan, but there should be other Christian attorneys, good Christian attorneys in other states.
We know
some.
some.
To be Catholic.
No, that's right.
Most of them have good values.
Yes,
so we'll
okay.
defend Catholic values.
Well, I'm so glad you're listening, A, and B, that you called in. So BibleBelievingAttorney.com. Timothy, get on that website, good man, and you'll have some more fodder, okay? Just do it.
Thanks so much for the phone call. Appreciate that. And Timothy, you may want to look up AmericanFreedomLawCenter.org as well. That may give you a little bit better relief across state lines for your particular location. Robert Muse and all the good folks there at the American Freedom Law Center.
Right, and also Alliance Defending Freedom, ADF. Is another one, Alliance Defending Freedom. Yeah, I never thought of taking this thing to court. Okay.
Next up is John, driving through the great state of West Virginia. You're number one in the vehicle today, Barbara. He's listening on Sirius XM Channel 130. John, you're on with Barbara.
Hi, John.
Hi, Barbara. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How about you, good man?
I'm doing well. I'm a big fan of Open Line and a big fan of Barbara. So,
praise God for that.
I struck it rich today.
Oh, good.
I'm calling asking for prayers, basically. I'll tell you the predicament I got myself into. I have a daughter who is going to be 29 this month.
Mm-hmm.
But when she was, I think it was 18, unbeknownst to me and sort of behind my back, her mother took her to an abortion clinic for an abortion.
Oh, gosh.
And it's very upsetting to her. She was out of wedlock in a relationship with someone that I didn't approve of.
Mm-hmm.
And subsequent to that, she did have a child with this young man. And then subsequent to having the child, her mother brought her back for another abortion. So at any rate, time went on. Her and her boyfriend broke up. We moved out of state.
Mm-hmm.
And about 5 years ago, she began a relationship with a nice young man, good Catholic upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And they got married in the Catholic Church, neither one of them having been married.
Mm-hmm.
And they have had a hard time. They've been married, I guess, about 15 months. They can't understand why they can't get pregnant. And so I told my daughter, I didn't make any commitments for God, but I did say, it runs in my mind and it is my belief that unless you are truly contrite and go to confession and pour out your heart in a meaningful, deliberate way about your feelings regarding the 2 abortions that you did have, and unless you get yourself back in the church on a regular basis, I don't know that would be something that would be God's will to let you become pregnant again. I fell short of saying, but if you do, God will do this, because obviously I can't say that.
Well, wait, but John, she got married in the church, right? She got married in the church?
She did, yes.
And so she had a beautiful wedding and a priest,
She sure did, yep. She went to our parish. She joined our parish. She joins us, at church each week. I'm a lector. I'm a Eucharistic minister. My wife teaches RCIA. We're very involved. and love it. And I think by example, many of our kids who had kind of drifted away started coming back, which is a great thing. We feel very blessed to be there as an entire family with grandchildren and everybody. But I do feel for my daughter now that she's having difficulty. She's been back. She's been to a doctor. Various explanations have been tossed around, but nothing. Nobody has said, "Oh, well, you're not going to be able to have a child." Nobody has said that.
Well, no, and I wouldn't, John, let me butt in here a minute. I wouldn't blame that on God, okay? God always forgives, okay? If we're sorry, God always forgives. People sometimes forgive. Nature never forgives. The nature of the act, and I think this is what you're meaning, of abortion, can cause scar tissue. It can cause all kinds of problems. If she ever took birth control pills, you say she's 29 years old, that could be indicative of a problem. But I think our merciful God, if she has been to confession and confessed all of this, that's not the way I think he responds. But nature is nature. Nature is nature. So it's the action of abortion and possibly birth control pills or whatever. I don't know. I'm just saying these are possibilities that could cause infertility. I know Dr. Wilkie, he had this beautiful, what was it called? Matter of Choice, I think it was called. It was a video. My goodness, I showed it a gazillion times. And at the very end, he talked about how what if a woman had to say that I killed the only child I ever bore? And so it can happen with abortion, and it can happen in fertility with contraception, certain types of contraception. So I would say that you want to just let her take the high road. Let her talk to a naprotechnologist. Again, Dr. Hilders. Okay, put in NAPRO, NAPRO technology. It all comes up. Naprotechnology. Let her look and see what there might be something that maybe there's a blockage in one of her tubes. There can be all kinds of things that could have been caused by these things, and they can take care of it. So she doesn't have to, let her rule everything out, and then she accepts God's will. God has another way of for her and her husband to bring souls to Christ. Okay?
Right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the phone call. 1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number. 1-800-585-9396. Talking the life issues on a Tuesday edition of EWTN's Open Line with our own pro-life warrior, Barbara McGuigan.
Tomorrow on EWTN Radio's Open Line, Father Mitch Pacwa takes your calls about the Bible, the Church, and the writings of the Pope. 3 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
In honor of our beloved foundress, EWTN has now released a second set of programs commemorating her entrance into eternity. In Memoriam, Mother Mary Angelica, a brand new 4-disc treasury that you'll cherish for years to come. Available now from EWTN Religious Catalog. Relive remarkable memories, heartfelt recollections, and laugh-out-loud anecdotes from friends, family, and even Mother herself.
I believe the network was created by God to teach the person in the living room, the person in the pew, how to live in a nitty-gritty, gutsy world.
Memorable moments from an unforgettable life. Make room on your video shelf today for In Memoriam, Mother Mary Angelica. Special live shows and short programs. Available now at EWTNRC.com.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, Call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
As soon as we're finished here at 4 Eastern on many of these EWTN stations, Cresta in the afternoon. Al talks to Chanel Prunier, who will talk about bathroom bills in the state of Massachusetts. Who would have thought? If 5 years ago somebody would have told me I'd be talking about bathroom bills and legislations about what gender goes into what bathroom, I would have told them they were out of their mind. But here we are having that discussion on the airwaves, and he'll also talk to Steve Ray. Steve's getting ready to take a tour of Thessalonica, and then at 6 Eastern, 2 hours of Catholic Answers Live. Our own Colin Donovan in hour number 1, and Father Paul Keller in hour number 2. All that right here on EWTN Radio. Back to the phones we go. Tony is in Melbourne, Florida, listening on Sirius XM Channel 130. Tony, you're on with Barbara.
Hi, Tony.
Good afternoon, Barbara. You started the show on the migration refugee situation, and I was thinking of something. We just brought in, I believe, our 10,000 Syrian.
Yep, in a rush.
At the same time, the world is witnessing the largest genocide of Christians in history, and yet when you weigh those 10,000 Syrians, only 56 were Christians. And,
yes,
and it just
I know that.
So crazy.
Tony, it is crazy. And I am so thankful that you came in with that because, why are Christians not being given priority in a country that believes in God, where probably, 95% of the people believe in God? I mean, honestly, I don't get it. And when I hear the latest DHS whistleblower who are actually saying, this is the former Department of Homeland Security, DHS, an officer of theirs, former officer, Philip Haney. He spoke yesterday at the Act for America 2016 conference. And what he said is Muslims from around the world are coming to America to wage what they call, quote, settlement jihad, end quote. And they're coming to implement Sharia law, which is, so he's warning about this. And he warned that most Muslims do not migrate to America with the intention of assimilating into American culture. So I think what we can see, and people have criticized the current administration because it seems like they're only concerned about letting the Muslims into the country. And he kind of verifies that this is the situation. He said the Obama administration refused to investigate Muslim Brotherhood members as terrorists because it relied on the Brotherhood and other Muslim groups with ties to terrorism to help shape U.S. counter-terrorism policy. So, as we know, the Muslim Brotherhood is a supremacist group known for establishing scores of fronts, including the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, C-A-I-R. You've probably heard of that before. So this guy, Haney, was a Customs and Border Protection officer, and he gathered all kinds of information, valuable intelligence on the Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamic organizations. But in 2009, his superiors ordered him to eliminate critical, quote, linking information from about 820 records he had entered into CBP's internal database. So, yeah, I mean, this is a huge problem. What is happening here is, and this is why St. Thomas Aquinas, that's why I brought it up. He said if any kind of migrant who wants to become then an immigrant has no intention of assimilating into the culture, okay, and they want to change things, they don't desire to integrate fully into what would today be considered the culture and life of our country, we don't have to let them in. It's dangerous in this case. So I'm really happy, Tony, that you called in with that because you are right. You're absolutely correct.
Well, thank you, Barbara. I appreciate it.
Thank you, too,
Thanks,
for calling.
Tony. Appreciate the phone call. We've got a text from Mary, and she says, what is a good book that Barbara would recommend to introduce preteens and soon-to-be teens to the Marriage Act?
Preteens and soon-to-be teens. You know, I have Jason coming on with me. Jason Everett on The Good Fight pretty soon here. I'm not exactly positive what it's probably. Well, usually their books are preteen and on up. It's called You, Y-O-U, period. Life, Love, and the Theology of the Body. Now, I haven't read it yet, but his other one I absolutely love, Theology of the Body for Teens. I've actually taught that one, but this one is brand new. And it's because they had to change. You know, when the swamp gets deeper, we all have to go deeper too. And the swamp is definitely deeper. So they had to revise Theology of the Body for Teens to keep them abreast of, all of the mortal sins that they're, giving honor to in this country. Well, they had to talk about it and tell the truth about what it is. So it's a beautiful book. They have a teacher's guide. Oh, I wish that every single public school, instead of bringing in Planned Parenthood, they'd bring in this You. It's called You, Life, Love, and the Theology of the Body, because the whole thing is based on, of course, on John Paul's Love and Responsibility, then, which was later turned into Theology of the Body, because the whole essence of chastity consists in the quickness to affirm the value of the person in every situation. This is what we're talking about. Even with immigration, we're talking about the values of the people that made in the image and likeness of God. Of course, we want to welcome the stranger. But if the stranger is going to do the image and likeness of God who lives in the United States, if they intend to take over, then we've got to rethink this whole thing. So anyway, that's what I would recommend.
And we have a text from another Mary who says, please tell the listener Timothy to not resist talking with his son about the nonsense taught in the class. This is when he can counter it with the truth. That's what I did with my son, and when he went back to school, he dispelled the ignorance, and it led to students hearing the message of life.
Yeah, well, that's, of course. I mean, I would expect that any parent would have to counter it. You would hope they would know it before they even get in there. But you see, these kids are young, and they're just forming all of their ideas and their opinions. And so when they get bombarded, and when most of their classmates agree with the presenter, then we've got something else coming into play. Now we've got a kid who, needs to have the confidence to stand up. They have to become a warrior. And this is a way to do it, too. That's the way you become a warrior, to hear the other side. But anyway, it's a tough call, I'll tell you. We live in a chaotic place right now. I'm sorry about that.
Well, Barbara, keep up the good fight.
Yeah, you better know I will. How about you too, Jack?
Absolutely. On behalf of our host, Barbara McGuigan, our producer, Elena Rodriguez, our call screener, Matt Kubensky, I'm Jack Williams. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day here on this Open Line Tuesday. Back at it tomorrow. Father Mitch Pacwa in the house, taking your questions about church teaching, canon law.